Thank you, Reverend Pat. It is so wonderful to be with everyone again this morning. Hello, welcome. Lots of love to all of you. Thank you for being here. And I don't know about you, but I'm missing some music, in our services because we always have such great music. So I'm going to treat you with this wonderful song. It's by the Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, he performed this at the Center for Spiritual Living, the Mile High Church, which is a Center for Spiritual Living church in Denver. And it's called Amazing Things. You might have heard of this song before. It's a beautiful song. And the title of my talk today is It's Your Choice. So I want you to listen to this song and think, what amazing things are you prepared to do and go out and do and be in this world? So let me share my video, my screen with you so that you can see.
Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every step you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is there in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Oh, the places you will go and the people you will know. Don't worry when, where, or how. You don't need to know that now. You're on the right track. No need to look ahead or back. Just enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there having fun. So close your eyes, take a breath, and smile. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing out into the world, this knowing, this positive, beautiful spiritual energy. Let's sing, we will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. We will do amazing things. Amazing, yes. Amazing. We will do amazing things. Yes, I know we will. Amazing, amazing. We will do amazing things. We will heal the world today. Amazing, amazing. We will do amazing things. And now what I'd like you to do with the deepest conviction and sincerity, place your hand over your own heart and tell yourself the truth. I will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. I will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. I will do amazing things. You will do amazing things.
Wasn't that great? Let me go in and make sure I've closed that out. So thank you for indulging me with that wonderful prelude that we had there, because I think that we're all going to do amazing things, aren't we? We're going to do amazing things. And so my talk title today is, It's Your Choice. And I thought with all the things that are happening in our world today, and the last couple times I've talked about how different things are right now, right? That we are in the midst of something that is truly transformational. And so I really want to address that this morning. There's something shifting, something happening, and now we have to make sure it's happening within us. It's not just the outer world. What's taking place within us? I want to start with a story that comes from Martha Beck, one of my favorite writers. And she writes about how racism has been prevalent in certain pockets of the country for many, many years. And she talks about how one of her favorite stories about this comes from Billings, Montana. She says, in the mid-'80s, white supremacists declared this area part of their Aryan homeland. By the early 1990s, the city had seen a wave of hate crimes attacking people of color, homosexuals, and especially Jews. In December of 1993, white supremacists threw a cinder block to the bedroom window of a 5-year-old Jewish boy. The window had been decorated with an image of a menorah. And police advised Jewish families to take down their holiday decorations if they were of the Jewish descent. Talk about bah humbug. She says, but a few Billings residents had another idea. Churches of all faiths, Christians, Muslims, Jewish, you name it, all the faiths began encouraging their children in their community to draw menorahs, which the adults Xeroxed and handed out during services. So all the children started drawing these menorahs and coloring them, and then they would place them in the windows of their homes. When the first non-Jewish families put these on their windows, the hate crimes increased. But instead of backing off, thousands of others joined the new tradition. taping up menorahs right next to their manger scenes or Santa Claus. The Billings Gazette published a full-page image of a menorah for everyone to cut out, paste, and put it up. Faced by so many people united to wage peace, not war, they were waging peace, the bullies backed down. The hate crimes stopped. The citizens of Billings realized that the ultimate usefulness of their traditions was to promote love, unity, and compassionate connection. Isn't that beautiful? They decided that they were going to surrender and give up part of their ancient customs. And some of these have been delivered and handed down for decades and decades, centuries even, to an idea that was even more beautiful. I love this story because it gives us the opportunity to take a look at what's part of my tradition, what's part of my inner workings here, things that have been handed down and I may not even be aware of them. Because we know that hate is a learned tradition or custom. That's not how human beings are born. Hate and prejudice and racism and gender discrimination, all of these things are learned behaviors. They're learned traditions. And so it's up to us to call out of ourselves, if we see it in our outer worlds, what in us is helping to create that? As I said the last time I shared with you, one of the things that's really hit me this time around is, even though I have worked very hard over my entire life to never do anything that was overtly racially motivated or that I would ever see anyone as less than, I understand that I'm now still, as a white person, part of a system. And so I get to tear down the traditions, tear down the system that was created that makes other people less than. I don't want to be a part of that. And I choose not to. And that choice is what I'm talking about this morning. That just as those people in Billings, Montana said, you're not going to do that to our Jewish brothers and sisters, I will join with them in knowing the truth, that we can honor and celebrate our traditions and know that every person is safe in doing so. That's what I want to be a part of. That's how I want to join this world in this movement of saying that all lives matter. Black, white, Latino, you name it. Every color of the rainbow is an essential part of this community that we call humanity. And so this morning, I really want to focus in. How am I getting to play my part? That's the question I want to leave you with. What choices am I making that's allowing me to step into a greater connection to my fellow human beings? You know, for Buddhist practitioners, I'm going to share my screen with you again to show how it's something that we can absolutely take control of in our lives. And so when we are moving into this new place of choice, there is a Buddhist practice called Maitri, which is also called loving kindness. And in this Buddhist practice, this is something that all Buddhists are encouraged to practice on a very regular basis, if not daily. That there are things that they say, these mantras that they're saying. And so this is the Buddhist practice. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And saying those four things over and over again. But it's not just saying those things. We have to put them in context. And so the Buddhists are encouraged to put it in context for 3 different groups. And here are those groups. Those you love, those you don't love. We all have a few of those, don't we? And those you have never met. So you say those 4 lines. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. You say that and concentrate on those people that you love, that you care about in your life. Then you say those 4 lines again for those people you don't love. I got to tell you, when I do this practice with the people that I'm harboring resentment or anger or judgment against, then that's where it really starts to sink in. I want them to be happy, healthy, safe, and living with ease. There's something internally that shifts within me when I do that. Those you have never met, those people that are out there that are just doing their thing, we want all beings on this planet to have those 4 things: happiness, health, safety, and ease. And I would include one final group in there. And that group, actually it's not a group, it's yourself. But because may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I live with ease. By saying those 4 lines, that's helping us to root out self-judgment, self-hatred, self-unforgiveness. There are things that I have found that I haven't forgiven myself for that go decades back. That's not the way that spirit gets to live fully and freely within us. And so I invite you to practice Maitri this week and every week moving forward. Some way of you connecting with that loving kindness towards others and towards yourself. There is no greater way of being in this world, because I know that as we do so, it moves beyond the borders of, well, I like these people because they're my peeps. They're the ones that I hang out with. They're the ones who are of like mind with me. We're not meant to be just with people of like mind. I hate to break it to you, but isn't it wonderful that we can have dialogue with people that have differing opinions? I don't know when that disappeared in our community, that we absolutely have to other people away if they're not of our same opinions. Why? Why can't we all agree to disagree? Why can't we be a part of this great big melting pot called humanity and know the truth that each of us has its own special place, his or her own special place in the cosmos of being? That's where I want to live. Out, as Rumi says, out past the field of right and wrongdoing, there's a field, I'll meet you there. That's where I want to be. Not casting aspersion upon someone else who has a different opinion than me. So what? So what? This is where I get to be tolerant, not just tolerant, but accepting of all those. The choice is mine. It's always, always mine. And so one of the things that I was reading this week was this wonderful book called The Power of 8. It's by Lynn McTaggart, who wrote The Intention Experiment. I've referenced this book before, but I'm going back to it to talk a little bit more about how Lynn she takes these groups of 8 people. That was the whole idea behind the Intention Experiment, is that 8 people would come together and they would practice loving kindness either towards a region of the world, or maybe a person, or maybe one of the group themselves. And that was the whole point of the group, was just practicing loving kindness and intentionally sending loving and healing thoughts to someone or something. In this book, it's quite miraculous, some of the results that came out of those groups of 8. But one of the things that she talks about is when people are doing this, when they are in that group and they are saying, I'm going to intentionally send love and kindness out to someone else or something else. Maybe it's a country, maybe it's a political party, whatever we're doing, there's something that happens within us participating in that. She says our group members appear to be experiencing an altered state of consciousness. But the power of 8 participants weren't in holy communion with God. They were in holy communion with each other and the person or situation they were trying to heal. Power of 8 groups were experiencing something akin to a moment of ecstasy, which then may have proved transformational in their lives. But unlike nuns, monks, or Sufis, the process hadn't required priming. So many times we think we've got to meditate for 2 hours a day or do certain spiritual practices. What she's saying here is just simply setting the intention to send love, kindness, and healing energy out into the world gets you to this place of instant communion with the world, which is what we all long to do and be. She says an hour of intense chanting or reflection to achieve that state, or years of devoted practice. Some people have spent lifetimes trying to develop this, and they were accomplishing it in a matter of moments. In a matter of moments. Something vastly different, she says, had happened to my participants. They'd entered into this state within a few minutes of beginning a Power of 8 group or an intention experiment, and their experience of enlightenment was not only immediate, but both unexpected and uninvited. And unlike your typical religious or indigenous experiences, there had been no mantras, no fasting, no self-denial or deprivation, no sweat lodge, no yoga or prostrations, no speaking in tongues, no icons, no ayahuasca, no great effort of the mind. In fact, there'd been no real effort at all. The experience had been mostly out of their control. They didn't turn it on. Their involvement in the group intention made it happen. That's my point here today, that when we set our intention to be a loving force for good in this world, that instantly connects us and aligns us with the power of the world and takes us to this place of well-being. And she even calls it ecstasy. People were getting excited about the fact that they were a part of this alignment with the universe. Isn't that what we all want? And we don't have to take hours or days or decades to get to that place. It can happen instantly, simply by our choice and saying, I'm here to be a positive force for good. I'm here to be someone who is part of the solution, part of creating a loving force in this world, a force for good. That's who I am, and that's where I'm aligning my energies. The choice is ours. We can either be part of an old, dying paradigm that says that some people are better than others, and some people need to be over here, and then we're going to be over here. No, that's a very old idea. And we can see that happening. We can see that shift happening right now. That the people who are demonstrating, they're coming out that are of all ages, all colors, all beliefs, all religions, simply because they're there to be a force for good. Simply to say that all humanity matters. This is our time. This is something that many of us have been praying for years, and we get to be a part of it. We volunteered to step into this conscious movement saying, I'm part of the solution and changing myself and thus the world. Because it all begins with us, right? I can't change the world, but I can change myself, which changes the world. That's how it works. That's how we get to be into a place of complete alignment with what Spirit would have us be. We're listening intently. Spirit, how can I serve? And then we just show up as a loving force. We show up as aligned with that supreme idea of love, kindness, understanding, compassion. That's what all religions want. And yet, it's so easy for us as human beings to slip back into the negativity, isn't it? I know it is for me. Sometimes I get really focused and then boom, something can happen and I can slip right back into that old way of thinking. This is where we got to literally jackhammer that out of there. We've got to say no when that shows up and say, I'm going to be a part of the solution. One of the things that I wanted to address today is there's a difference between, and I'll share my screen again. There's a difference between the translation Translational teachings are focused on creating a more enhanced and empowered self-system. Our ego is tied up in feeling good. So in other words, if we're trying to make sense of the world, we're going, okay, that's how that relates to me. That's how I can have a better life. It's always about us. Versus transformational. And transformational says it's pointing us to a new reality that is accessible within the context of a new identity. So in other words, transformational means I must change to make this new difference in the world. And I'm going to give you an example. This was shared by Dr. Gary Simmons, who's a Unity minister. And he says, let's examine an example here. A current dream that many of us have is about a story of insufficiency and lack. You are having the outer experience of scarcity that is linked to the inner shadow belief, I am not enough. Been there, done that. Have you? That's such a common theme that I hear from everyone. He says it's become a nightmare for so many people these days. Rather than waking up from the dream of not enough, translational teaching suggests that you can remedy the discomfort of not enough by getting more. So, okay, if I'm not enough, let me get a better job. Let me find a better relationship. Let me work on my health and get better health. That's where it's still all I-centered. It's I-centered. How can I change my outer world so that my inner discomfort settles down? That's translational. And yet, that it doesn't solve anything. He points out to the fact that how many people in this translational mode will dream of winning the lottery. And I know that that's something that many of us do. He says, just imagine what winning the lottery might do within the dream of not enough. You'd feel better. The world would seem manageable. Rather than keep in mind that lottery winnings, though, or other seeming improvements are always short-lived when they arise in the dream of not enough. If we haven't changed the thinking that got us to the problem, the solution of moving things in our world will not solve the problem, not for very long anyway. And yet, transformational teachings, on the other hand, he says this, are all about waking up from the dream and discovering a new ground of being that is no longer centered in an ego-centered body-mind. Waking up from the dream of not enough and being born into the reality that we are born into the reality of omnipresent abundance. In other words, the abundance is already there, already ours, already us. That's who we are. We've just forgotten. And we have differentiated ourselves from the identity that was created when we took on the belief in our own sense of not enough. So transformational means we not only recognize that we're enough, we separate ourselves from the belief that we had that we're not enough. Does that make sense? I love this idea because it gives us new responsibility from moving from the translational way of being, which many people in New Thought get stuck in that, well, let me just get a better life. And what Dr. Gary Simmons is saying, we have to move to the transformational side of things, which is that we have to integrate a new identity into, I believed at one time that I was not enough, but that is not the truth of who I am. The truth is, not only am I enough, I have the inherent divinity within me that says I am necessary on this planet because I am a force for good. I am a force for love and kindness and compassion. I am a conscious being that is on a spiritual path that is always changing me back to the changeless, because spirit never changes. Our beliefs that we take on in our lives can change us from the changeless to the ever-changing whatever the world thinks I am, and I take that on. But now we are on this path that is taking us back to the changeless. That never moved. That center point within us that always knew that we were love and kindness, and that we embody that at the minute, the holy instant that we make that decision. The choice is ours. And so that's the inner work that we have to do. That's the work that is ours to say, wait a minute, I'm here to be more than just moving the chairs around on the deck of the Titanic. The Titanic's still going down. If I don't change the identity of who I am, then I'm simply moving things around in my outer world. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to be a mighty force for good and a part of a solution that is birthing right now. And I am a necessary part of that birth by my inner actions and by my outer actions. That's what I'm here to talk about this morning. The choice is always ours to stay in translational spirituality, or we can move into transformational spirituality. I wear this dragonfly because that's one of the symbols that I took on, I don't know, when I was in my 20s or 30s. Because dragonfly is the ancient symbol of transformation. And little did I know that when I took that on, I was saying, okay, Spirit, I'm ready. And I've had to change and metamorphosis into one new thing after another, which was really only taking me back to the changeless. What I really was doing was subtracting. Meister Eckhart said, we're not adding anything, we're subtracting the belief that we have that is not the truth of who we are. And so I had made a commitment a long time ago that I would be on the transformational path, not the translational path, the transformational path, which means I need to keep honing my identity always to the truth of who I am. This is not an easy path. And yet it's the only path that those of us who have stepped up and said, I'm going to be a conscious being in this lifetime, it really is the only path that we can do. We can delay it for a while, but eventually we have to get back to the real work that we're here to do. And that is to be the truth, the authentic being that we already are. When I was in ministerial school many years ago, I celebrated, this is my 22nd year of being a minister. One of my fellow students wrote this poem as a class project, and I'm going to read it. It's called The Choice is Yours. She says, if it's not comfortable, don't wear it. If it's not healthy, don't do it. If it's not uplifting, don't read it. If it's not inspiring, don't watch it. If it's not needed, don't keep it. If it's not true, don't repeat it. If it's not consistent, don't believe it. If it's not great, don't buy it. If it's not legal, don't try it. She goes on to say this. If you're not hungry, don't eat it. If you're not honored, don't beg it. If you're not acknowledged, don't do it. If you're not cherished, don't marry it. Can I get an amen to that one? If you broke it, fix it. If you borrow it, return it. If you promised it, do it. If you blew it, admit it. If you owe it, pay it. If it's supportive, say it. If it doesn't flow, don't force it. If you don't have it, don't spend it. If it's abusive, leave it. If it's unkind, confront it. If it's negative, avoid it. If it's a success, rejoice it. If you need help, request it. If it's a pattern, heed it. If it's a grudge, drop it. If you're not proud, stop it. If it's your need, honor it. If it's your decision, defend it. If it's your talk, walk it. If it's your joy, pursue it. If it's your intent, declare it. If it's your hurt, heal it. If it's your truth, tell it. If it's your right, claim it. If it's your goal, embrace it. And if it's your fear, face it. Isn't that fabulous? Karen Lynn Seal wrote this back in the late 90s. I still read that on a regular basis. It's that powerful. The choice is always mine. It's always mine. It's always yours. We have a freedom of choice, but we don't have a freedom of consequence. So every choice I make, there is a consequence to it. And when I make a choice to be a loving force in this world, a force for good in this world, the waves that ripple out there are magical. They absolutely are magical. They put me into alignment with what I'm truly here to do. Doors open that I never ever thought would be possible. And so you and I have that capability to always put ourselves into that place of choice, that place of saying yes, yes to whatever Spirit would have us do and be. We are always, always faced with possibility. And I know that. I know that when you and I have the capability to come together, we are always moving to a new place of choice, a new place of being in this world, a new place of saying yes, yes to all that is. And so possibilities are what we have the capability of doing. I want to show you how choice can be very powerful. This is Fred Phelps, the Reverend Fred Phelps. He was the founder of the Westboro Baptist Church. You may have heard of this Westboro Baptist Church, not in a very good way. For years, they've been doing this for decades and decades. They've been they're very well known for their inflammatory hate speech. Typically, it's aimed against LGBT plus people, Catholics, Muslims, Jews, U.S. soldiers, and politicians. They made a name for themselves by showing up at the funerals of U.S. soldiers and picketing and putting up incredibly hateful signs that the reason why U.S. soldiers were dying was because Americans were supporting LGBTQ individuals. It's just repulsive, some of the things that they have put out there. And so it's a small group of people, maybe only 40 to 50 people, and yet they do, and looking in Wikipedia, they were doing up to 6 protests a day all over the country. And they actually, there was a motorcycle unit called the Pride Guard that started, that was veterans who basically would show up and protect families from these protesters. So that whenever a U.S. soldier had there was a funeral for a U.S. soldier, the Pride Guard would show up and protect the families from this group of protesters who would show up and say very hateful things and show these awful signs. Well, this man, Fred Phelps, who led this church for many, many years, he passed away in 2014. His family now still runs that church. But Fred Phelps, when he passed away in 2014, there was a lot of chatter on social media because people had been protesting in response to their protests for quite a long time. And so the chatter on social media was, how do we show up? Should we say hateful things at his funeral? Is that what we should do? Well, they made a different choice, and this is what they decided to do. They showed up with this banner, "Sorry for your loss." So instead of answering hate with hate, they answered hate with love. And they basically showed up out of compassion for this group of people who were experiencing the loss of their leader. It didn't matter that he had done despicable things. It didn't matter that he had said incredibly hateful things over the years and had caused great harm to many people. This was a chance for this group to say, we're going to show up and be loving instead. This is one of the most powerful examples I've ever seen of people making a different choice in the face of being harmed by someone else. That's the choice, the kind of choice I want to be making. That's where I want to be, because we're always faced with possibility. Our possibilities are always lying ahead of us. With every step that we take, that's where we get to be. That's where we're always at choice. And do I want to stand for love, or do I want to stand for hate? And answering hate with hate never works. It just doesn't. And so I love that story, that protesters can show up and still say wonderful things about a man who stood for some real violence in this world. I'm going to end with a story that I found that really wraps all of this up. It's called The Rabbi and the Soap Maker. A rabbi and a soap maker went for a walk together. The soap maker said, "What good is religion? Look at all the trouble and misery of the world. Still there, even after years, thousands of years of teaching about goodness and truth and peace. Still there after all the prayers and sermons and teachings. If religion is good and true, why should this be? The rabbi said nothing. They continued walking until the rabbi noticed some children playing in the mud. Then the rabbi said, "Look at those children. You say that soap makes people clean, but see the dirt on those youngsters? Of what good is soap? With all the soap in the world, the children are still filthy. I wonder how effective the soap is after all." The soap maker protested, "But Rabbi, soap cannot do any good unless it is used." "Ah," replied the rabbi. Our spiritual beliefs, our spiritual tenets, what we stand for here in Unity, if we truly know that all is one, if we truly know that love is the guiding force in this world, is that how we're showing up? Is that what we are to this world? Is that what we're known for? Is that our brand, so to speak? I'd like you to think on these things this week. I know I sure am. What am I standing for? Because it only works if I work it. That's the point of that last story. We can have wonderful tenets of our teachings, but it only works if we work it. So that wonderful song, Amazing Things, I will do amazing things. That's what I take on today, that I have the capability to do amazing things in this world if I make the choice, if I say yes to all the wonderful good that is coming to me and through me as spirit, as that life force that is always for our highest being, for everyone. And so this week, what do you stand for? What are you showing up for? What is your choice? Part of the problem, part of the solution. It's our choice. Let's take that into prayer. Oh, let's take a deep breath in. We've processed a lot. Let's take it all in and let it out. Father, Mother God, we're just so grateful for the presence of choice in our lives, for the opportunity to step up at any moment and say, I'm here to be a force for good in this world, for the opportunity to say yes to a higher way of being, for the opportunity of transforming our lives, not just translating what it means, but transforming us to a new identity. That's what we stand for this morning. And so I know that everyone who is hearing these words right now is saying yes in their own mind. Yes to a higher way of being. Yes to shifting to a new way of living. Yes to transforming into that changeless part of each one of us that is the abiding love, that presence of love that overcomes all. That is who we are this morning. That is who we are every moment of every day. Knowing the truth of ourselves again and again and again. And when we slip back into old beliefs, old patterns, we come right back to center and say, I am here to be a mighty force for good in this world. And nothing and no thing can stand in my way, including my beliefs about myself. I let them go now because I am here to do amazing things right here, right now. No stopping me now. This is what I'm here to do. And so I bless everyone who has come together this morning with us. Everyone who is watching this in moments after our time together. However they are seeing this video, however they are hearing these words, I know that every single person here, simply by the fact that they are hearing this words are coming together in complete agreement that we are here to do amazing things. By transforming ourselves, we transform this world. We are so grateful for that opportunity again and again. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for all that is and all that is yet to be, the amazing things that are flowing to us and through us right now. We absolutely say yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. All is well. And we let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Let's take another deep breath in and let it out. We're so grateful that each one of you are here with us this morning. At this time, we invite everyone, if you've gotten any source of good from this, if you've been inspired, if you've been connected to our community, and you know the good that Unity of Charlotte does, I invite you to think about giving back. You can go to unityofcharlotte.org. There's a place right there on the home page to donate. It's safe, it's private, it allows you to just transfer right away the funds that you choose to share with this wonderful community. You can also mail a check in. You'll find the address also on the website at unityofcharlotte.org. And we are so grateful for all of the gifts that you give to keep this community vital and alive. Even during the midst of coronavirus, we're still a force for good here. And we know that every donation you make, large, small, whatever it is, helps us to bring together the force that we are as a community here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the world. So we thank you. We thank you for the gifts that you continue to support us with the wonderful works that we're doing here. And so I'd like you to repeat this blessing with me that we always say every Sunday when we're together. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing that the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. That's a wonderful blessing from us to the world. We are giving back. We're creating that cycle of giving and receiving. It doesn't work just to receive. We have to do the giving part also. So thank you. Thank you for your presence today. Thank you for your consciousness, and thank you for your material gift back to us. So we'd like to thank you for joining us. We're going to stay on Zoom. Please stay on for a few minutes afterwards if you'd like to talk with your friends for a while. And we're going to close with our prayer for protection. Let's say this together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you. Have a wonderful week. Stay on Zoom if you'd like to, and we'll chat. And we'll see you back here next Sunday.